Thank you very much this Mayor Patrick Therrien for the RM of Springfield. This is meeting agenda. This is our second meeting of the day for March the 10th. It's the 2026. It's a draft budget presentation and a public Q&A. We're starting at exactly 6 p.m. All of council is present here, and I'll go through the order of council and to my right in descending order. Deputy Mayor Glenn Fuel. Next will be Councillors Andy Kaczynski, Mark Miller, and Melinda Warren. Since this is a draft budget presentation, all of our department heads, or most of the department heads, are present here. And we are going to go till 8 p.m. If need be, we'll go to 8 p.m. there, but that's our deadline there. We're going to look at the budget there. If everybody has the agenda in front of them there, the items 2.1 and 2.2 is the draft budget summary. That'll be in front. And maybe Amram, did you want to talk briefly about the 2.1 and 2.2? But I'll just go into a little bit of detail how we would like to run the meeting there. Questions are for everybody, for the public here, but we don't want to have any one person take all the questions and so on like that. We want to share amongst the group here, so we're asking a question, maybe a follow-up, and we have 2 hours for that. We're going to go through item 3 and the draft budget departments from asset management, community service, community safety officer, all the way down the line. We have like I say, the directors are present here. If we don't, then our CEO or CFO or somebody will take that as we go. So I'll put it over to Amram, our CFO there, and he can start at 2.1, 2.2. Just a brief summary of that, and then we can get into the first department heads, and that'll be asset management.
Thank you, Mayor Pat. Good evening, councillors, and good evening, everyone. We have a new document here that's where we've put forward to the public. This document gives a kind of, it put things into perspective, looking at our general operating budget, including the capital. The way it is presented, it's a master summary. At the top of the document, the first page, on page 1, you'll find a summary of the total revenues to the municipalities, and we're looking at historical years 2024, 2025, and then the budget year that we're looking at 2026 on the right. And then after the revenue, you'll see the expenditures, and these are grouped into what you could call segments as they are reflected or as they will be shown on the financial plan. These are the various segments that are within the RM. And what you will find also in most municipalities, there is the general government services and the departments within that segment. You have the protective services, the transportation services, and economic development services, environmental services, public health, environmental development, and recreational services. So that gets you to the total expenses, the operating side of things. And after the total expenses, you will see a single line item for fiscal services. That is where you find that's for the capital items and our annual debenture payments and some other fiscal lines in there. And then the transfers to reserves. So that's the summary of this document that we've presented to the public, and we're presenting right now. Yes, thank you, Mayor Pat.
Thank you, Amram. And as I stated there, this is not a financial plan public hearing. That's going to be on the 15th of April of 2026. So we're not going to get into the capital budget there, because we'll be going through that 5-year capital budget plan on the 15th of August, and that's when the public hearing is going. We're trying to do a thing here. Sorry. Oh, 15th of April. Sorry. So it's a draft budget presentation. We're trying to hear from the public what they'd like to see with regards to the to the budget, and you'll see how we're going so far. We're still trying to tweak the numbers, and just since we had our meeting with all of council there last week, it's gone down. So we're still processing some of the numbers coming through. So we're ready to go, and what we'll do, we'll start off with the number one there, and again, um, we've got 10 departments to go through there in 2 hours there. I think some won't require any questions or very little questions there, and some may require a whole bunch. But we're going to try to cap it down at a certain time period there where we can allow some adjustments so we can get through all these going down to the very last one, solid waste. So the very first one will be our asset management. We'll hear from the director or the appropriate person that can answer or talk to this. Then we'll have the budget to come up to the podium here. Introduce yourself, name, and your relative address there. I don't want people saying exactly where they live if they don't feel comfortable doing that. The whole idea is just to come up here and we'll hear what you had to say. So I'll turn it over to our Colleen Draper.
So as the mayor mentioned, we have a few senior management here that will just give a brief summary of their department report. And I'll be reviewing any where our managers weren't able to attend. So it'll just be quick, and then the bulk of the evening will be for residents to ask questions. So the first department is asset management. So we're seeing this budget is down 4.66%. And that's due to basically the removal of a one-time tree management project that happened in 2025. So when we removed that, the rest of the budget pretty much stayed status quo. So we're seeing that down 4.66. Community services, that department budget is up 5.9%, and that's due to the addition of the aquatics budget. So we have the new indoor pool in Dugald expected to open in late 2026. So that's a new addition to the budget. So again, that's up 5.9%. The community safety officer budget. So this was obviously the Springfield Police budget. This budget is down 57.29%. So it's kind of a bare bones budget. The only costs remaining are for ongoing contracts. We have one wage, vehicle costs, and just our basic building operation costs. So that is down 57.29%. Next budget, I'll call up Dustin Olson for the facilities.
Good evening, Dustin Olson with Facilities. So for the variance for me, you'll see a minus 3.1. This is strictly just because we used to have a cleaner on our staff, full-time cleaner, and we went the commercial cleaner route. So that's let's keeping her on the budget on the election union. Everything else is pretty much status quo for itself. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dustin. Is there any questions for facilities? If somebody thinks of something after the fact, then we can come back there. So I see no questions there. And if there's any online, if council can let me know if I happen to miss anybody, then we can go to fire services.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Brian Seaton. I'm with the Fire Services, the fire chief for the RM of Springfield. Fire Services is up 5.51% due to the slight increased number of firefighters with association increased wages, training equipment, and supplies. We also established a new first aid training budget that's included in this year's budget.
Thank you. We're getting 2 new fire trucks, Chief. If you can add something to that in March. For information
so
for the public.
2 years ago, the final trucks will be built for August of this year. So the truck will be delivered as promised from Fort Garry for the first week of August. That one's actually paid by the RM, and the second one that's going to be replaced in 6 weeks later will be paid by grants. We got a grant on that one.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for fire services? See none. And then maybe we can go down to human resources.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Carlson. I'm the HR manager. So this year, the HR budget has increased approximately 2.1%. This is due to normal cost increases such as salaries and the cost of services such as benefits.
Thank you very much.
What's your position?
HR manager.
Any questions for HR? Thank you, Jamie. And then we can go to IT.
So the IT budget, we're up 1.35% on this budget due to increased external consulting costs and additional computer supplies.
I was amazed at how much licensing costs for something like this. So it's every year it gets heavier and heavier. Any questions on IT from anybody in the public or online?
Are we still outsourcing to East St. Paul for IT? I had seen on one statement, Edwin Giesbrecht, there was, we were outsourcing to East St. Paul to a computer consortium. And what they would do is outsource the obligations to some of their contacts. And I was just wondering if that was still happening.
So that hasn't been happening for a while now. I think the confusion is the GIS consultant we used to be employee at East St. Paul. So there might have been, through East St. Paul, there was a contract, but now he's gone on his own and we've followed him to his new company.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giesbrecht. And we also have a new employee in there, Jed, who's doing a great job for us in the RM. Very busy. Then if we can go to planning, please, Mr. Doucette.
Good evening. My name is Dan Doucette. I oversee the planning department. Our department, we're looking at a 5.6 increase due to wages and benefits, also vehicle repairs. We're not replacing any new vehicles. We're maintaining the existing vehicle that we have. There's fuel increases. We have a one-time water and wastewater studies that we're looking at for the upcoming development plan. Each study, we're looking at $90,000 per study, and that's the main reason for the increase in the department. We are also, well, the two studies will be $180,000, and we have applied for a government grant to ask for 50-50 cost sharing. That's a provincial grant. Also, we are looking at the cloud permitting system, which is an online electronic system. We're getting rid of the old paper system. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Any questions, people in the audience for planning? Mrs. Overall? You just come to the...
Sorry, I just didn't hear, Jill Overall, Big. I just didn't hear the exact description of what the two $90 studies are for. Could you just repeat that?
Sure.
I wish they were $90. 90,000, but
they're $90,000. They are, the one's a water study and the other one's a wastewater study. They're both requirements under the Planning Act for the development plan.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Then we'll get into Public Works, please.
Good evening. Blaine Moffat, Director of Public Works. Looking at our budget for 2026, we are up 3.01%. This is mainly due to union contract wage increases. We had put some additional monies in for some crack seal repairs that are in dire needs within the town of Oakbank. We have some new streetlights for one of our new developments, Waterside Development, Penner Subdivision, and also an increase for our stormwater retention pond chemicals. And that is where we're at for our budget.
Thank you. What was the percentage up there, Blaine?
3.01.
Okay. Any questions for Edwin? If you can go up there.
You mentioned, Edwin Giesbrecht, you mentioned due to union increases, and I'm wondering if there's been a renegotiation. I think the last negotiation was around 2022. So I'm just wondering if that's been renegotiated.
And yes, it has
Yes,
been
recently?
negotiated there 3 months ago, I believe.
Okay,
So yes, it has been negotiated. The union ratified it, and so we're all
okay.
good.
And so then that would reflect across the administration the same pay increase? Isn't that what normally happens?
No, this is union employees there that are getting that increase. If it's a union employees, I won't even say the name of the acronym there, but that's for the union employees at the Public Works.
Right on.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can we
Darryl?
advise how long is the contract for the Public Works?
How many years is the contract?
4-year contract.
Okay, thank you.
Darryl, did you want to come up? And then Karen will be next.
Pardon? You what?
I would have caught you.
Oh, you would have? Oh, what a guy. Okay, I got a couple of questions. One relates to the ongoing problem we have with the intersection of Heatherdale and Garvin Road. What are we going to be doing about that? We've been talking about this for over 10 years, and each year we talk at budget time about what's going to be done here, and nothing gets done. They don't even drain their facility there. I was there this afternoon. They got the snow piled up there. The snow is melting. It's being rained on, and that's starting to now come to the intersection. So I'd like to know when we're going to do something about this. Stop the water flowing onto the intersection from the Heidelberg truck staging area. They should be draining their
Okay, Mr. Spears,
area to the.
Mr. Spears, we got your question, so let Blaine
Can you
answer
just a
that.
minute?
Pardon me?
Please, thank you. Thank you. They have been allowing that truck staging area to drain year round. Not into the pit where it belongs, onto their own property. It's been drained off their property. They may have made a breach in the dike there, right onto the run-up zone for the trucks. So what's the answer?
Well, I can't give you a definitive answer, but what I can tell you is we have been in contact with Manitoba Transfer MTI regarding that intersection. So they are working on plans right now, which I have seen, but they're not finished their complete engineering design on it yet. I can also say that it is in the proposed 5-year capital budget for works on that intersection, as well as further north to Hillside Road for all drainage improvements. But I can't move forward with any of that until I know what MTI is doing once they finalize their design. So we have been working in the background on it, 100%.
Well, I got a different perspective. That is, each spring or each rainstorm, we got water pulling that intersection, being pulled onto the road with mud, which is very hazardous. So there's got to be something done there. Is there no reason why we can't reroute those trucks away from that intersection to lower down? Because inland has an entrance below the hill, less chance of drainage issues there, and not as unsafe. So I'd like to have an answer. We've gone around, it's the MTI this and MTI that, the other thing, and we can't even get them to move their snow off the corner into their own pit. I was there today. There's no reason for this.
Okay, Mr. Spears, we've already answered the question. So what's the second question?
I'd like the answer to why we can't have the snow removed from that.
He already responded to that answer.
He never answered that question.
He did respond to it. So your second question, Mr. Spears.
I missed it maybe.
Mr. Spears, your second question.
Could you answer the question?
Mr. Spears, that's your first warning. What's your second question?
You're going to call the RCMP on me?
I will. What's your second question? What's your second question?
What are we going to do about the abandoned, depleted, and non-functional pits? They're all over the place in Springfield. They're a constant eyesore and a hazard to the people who get in there, don't belong there, to the people, the residents around these pits. So I'd like to have an answer of what's going to be done. And the idea that we've got security on these pits, that's not true. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure I'm the right person to answer that question. Those are all privately owned pits. I can say we have met with some of the local pit owners and they are very well aware of the issues. But again, they're private pits. I'm not sure this would be more of an overall council question or put to Mines and Resources branch.
I agree with you, Blaine. We've answered that question to Mr. Spears several times there. That's private properties there. And we are continuing assessing that. We've got a community safety officer there. He'll be patrolling around there looking for infractions there. That's about the best we can do at this moment. And again, we've answered that question several times.
Not the answer. The answer is bylaw 7322 requires them to secure their pits. Fencing, gates, and so on. That's not the case. So when are we going to enforce this is my question.
Well, we've already answered that. We're working on it. There, it's private property. Apart from that, I'm not sure what more that we can do. We've been working on it. When I was RCMP here, I was working on it there and arresting people there for trespassing. That's the same question, and we've answered it many times.
Bylaw 7322 says they have to secure these pits and control them. So that's our bylaw. We have to enforce it.
That's our bylaw, but our bylaw is up to that point, and then it's private property from there. They have to work with the
You
people
got
there.
that wrong. I'm sorry.
Mr. Spears, we've answered this many times. We're here for the budget
No, I want to
presentation
know
here.
about where's the enforcement in this budget on this matter.
It's under the CSO program there. They'll be able to enforce that. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any other questions for Public Works, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Not to be rude, but I did promise Karen next. And then, I'm sorry, we'll have you. I keep on telling you to sit down or.
I know.
You're probably afraid to move. Oh, okay.
I just have a question. Karen Lalonde, Oak Bank. I just have a quick question when you were talking about the wage increase for the union workers. I just wondered when it changed that because what used to happen is everybody got the same amount of raise, like all administration, and also council used to take that increase as well. So I just wondered when that changed.
I would
I'm not sure when that
say
was.
that hasn't been done for a few years now.
How long?
I would say the last 4 years at least. Non-union have not always matched the union increases. It's based on budget discussions.
Well, that's the way it used to work. So I just wondered, when it had changed or if it had changed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, right up there.
Sandra Springfield. I just have one quick question just to clarify. So plans are being drawn up from MTI, correct?
Currently working on them.
Okay, so what's the actual deadline for those to be submitted? Because there should be some sort of guideline in terms of.
I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I believe it's within their 5-year plan. So at least that's what we're kind of being told.
So what does that actually mean in real terms?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I can say that at least what we've been told is it was within their 5-year plan. What that really means is real quick and simple is it could be anywhere from now and 4 years from now or 5 years from now, but we are staying on them quite a bit, so they're keeping me up to speed as to how they're progressing with their design work, and I think they got some lands they're dealing with right now to be able to make that project work. And then once we know what we're doing, our engineer is going to be working with their engineers to make sure everything works together and the water flows properly and has a place to discharge.
So this is a 5-year scenario we're looking at fixing this?
Well, I have it in our proposed 5-year capital, so it won't be this year because I've had no indication from highways that they're moving forward this year. We're hoping to hear this year something more concrete for next year, then I would propose it back to council next year for putting that section of ours into the
Okay,
project on Heather Bills.
okay, so it's quite a slow moving issue at this point.
Yes, this has been talked about for many, many years.
Okay,
There was plans years ago to fix that, but the time of council at the time decided that it was not
wasn't a priority.
put in as a priority at that time.
Okay, so just so for my answer, it's about a 5-year process and we're waiting on MTI to figure out their end of it and they'll just let you know whenever.
Yeah, because I can't put our water coming down to their intersection until we know what their catchment is going to be and how they're going to discharge that water, which most likely is gonna run to the west down the hill. And it has to come at a controlled speed and.
Is that really acceptable for 5 years? Like, is that really an acceptable time frame when you're dealing with another company with such an issue with this intersection? Like, is that really
Well,
prudent for the municipality?
Well, again, that's not my power to have.
No, but you guys negotiate with each other, right? Like this.
We try to work
okay.
with them. That has been actually, it's been on probably for, I would say probably better 15 to 17 years, that there's been other plans and design and.
That's not a good answer.
Well, it's the truth.
That's fine, okay.
I mean, unfortunately,
All
I've
right,
been here long enough and
yeah.
I've seen it and it's just, it's
Okay.
never been a real appetite.
Okay, so nothing's really moving on this, in all fairness, nothing's really moving. Like if we call a spade, it's not really going anywhere.
Well, yeah,
It's in your proposal for the next 5 years, but,
right.
okay, that's great, thank you.
But what I can say is this is the most movement I've seen from highways on this project in the last 10 years.
That's not encouraging.
Well, to me it is. At least I'm getting some.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
We have one question from Councillor Fuel.
Actually, it's not a question, it's more information. Sandra,
Yes.
I'd just like to add to that I've been on council for 12 years. We've been working with MTI on this from the day I started here. And I've even had meetings with MTI and Public Works out on the highway. We thought we had something there at that time. They went and put a whole bunch of flags in. They were going to put a drive, what do you call that?
Lane.
A turning lane in that area. We thought we had that made. We thought they were going to do it and found out that they changed their mind and never happened. So we have been putting pressure on them from the day that I've been on council and even before then, as Blaine explained. And all I can tell you is in their 5-year capital, I've seen again, 5-year capitals can change within time also. Depends on the priority of highways. So again, all we can do at this time is keep pressuring them. And hopefully we can get this done, as Blaine said. The last meeting seemed pretty positive and hopefully we can get this done. Thank you.
Hopefully it's not another 12 years.
Yeah, hopefully not. Thank you.
We got somebody online then. Who would that be? Oh, Janet?
I think you're muted.
I'm trying to unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't quite prepared for this new format tonight, and I had intended on attending in person, but I was delayed, so I didn't want to miss the meeting. My question is about the equipment rentals recovery line. Can you explain what that entails, please, first?
Yeah, so anything rentals is just that it's equipment. So whether it's municipal equipment, hired equipment, contracted equipment, anything to do with equipment is technically or typically what you'll find in any of the GL lines where it refers to a rental charge.
So why is it significantly lower than budgeted for the last few years?
Just 1 second, channel.
So I can come in there. So the number that you're seeing there right now as the 2025 actual, that is not necessarily going to be the final number for the year. So we use those recovery lines when Public Works perform jobs, and through the costing of the jobs, costs are reallocated within the department itself, within some of their cost centers. So this is what relates to equipment. It's like what they spend on equipment rentals, and they are reallocating those costs to the other cost centers within the Transportation Services Department that the job may relate to. So that's what that line is for. And it's a line that we make entries into up to the time we're finalizing our year-end entries.
Well, and I'll talk to the year end later, but I guess in my mind, last year or in 2024, you looked like you were below estimates by 454,000, and right now it looks like you're 775,000, which is about half of what you're budgeting. And it had always been kind of explained to me that it was like a form of depreciation by billing yourself some recovery costs for using your equipment. So like, are we renting out more equipment, or are we leasing more equipment? Is this what's affecting this budget line?
You can go ahead.
We're, Janet, we're not, I think it's kind of a combination of a few things, and it's always weather driven. So sometimes we're contracting out more, for example, more graders to help catch up on our roads after if we have a crazy rain event or something to that nature. When we get into our programs, dust control, gravel program, I know dust control is a very important thing to a lot of residents. So before we can get to the dust control program, we need to make sure we have the gravel in place, the roads bladed and ready to apply that dust control application. So depending what happens a little bit before that in our spring, we may end up having to do blitzes where we'll run a whole bunch of graders out there, upwards of 7 graders to help prepare all these areas so that we can get the dust control out there really quick for the people. So that would be, one or two examples that why we'd see some fluctuation.
Well, like there's some fluctuation which might be modest, but we're looking, at $500,000 and $750,000 that you're off budget. And I think there should be some, and you're budgeting the same for the next year. I guess would you comment that we're leasing more equipment and not owning more equipment? Is that kind of a factor? I don't know.
Well, again, it comes at a bit of a balance there too. We are starting to rent or lease more equipment. Just as we grow, we have so much staff, and so we find that we have to have that combination of leased equipment, rental equipment, contract equipment to keep up with what's coming and what we're facing today.
So I guess the next point is, as you move forward, why aren't you factoring that into this current year's budget? Because I don't think the number of roads in the rural area has changed. It's more urban type usage that's happening. So would that not be, can you reflect that in this year's budget better?
Well, I think we are somewhat when we look at, I have an increase of about $165,000 in that area to do some major crack sealing in the Oak Bank area here, more in particular, some of the new areas that have the curb and gutter. As our roads deteriorate, we have more asphalt repairs in the older areas of, more in particular, Oak Bank and Dugald. So those are minor asphalt repairs. There's a lot of more pothole repairs that we're having to do. And just like anything else, fuels and oils and materials are all going up. Cartage is going up. Hourly rates are going up. So trying to keep with the trend, but also be respectful of the overall budget as well. So, but end of the day, it all needs to get done and fixed. Otherwise, we're going to be fighting an uphill battle with deteriorating roadways.
No, I guess I appreciate what you explained because that's important to know too, but that's not my point is about this recovery line. If you're not recovering regularly, why are we expecting that kind of I guess it's kind of like a credit coming to the department that you're not achieving. And so if it's because you're leasing out, like it's just a way of reporting things more accurately as you are moving forward in a different way. That was my point. Sorry.
And maybe that line is more of a best guess or estimate. So I think it's something we can definitely look at closer and see if there's.
Yeah, I think the point that Blaine made, this also is influenced by weather patterns and the work they have to do.
No.
It's difficult to estimate that accurately. And it's that's
No,
just the
this-
best explanation there is that.
No, excuse me, this isn't a cost to the municipality. It's a type of, like, I think of it like depreciation of your equipment usage. And if you're not using your equipment as much for certain things, like it just reflects badly on your budget that you're missing the target by $500,000 in 2024 and like 3/4 in 2025. And I'm saying this year you're budgeting the same amount. You're not recognizing, I guess, how you're changing your operations.
Yes, you can look at it as a depreciation because it has to do with the equipment usage and rentals. But again, it's just an internal costing allocation. It's just moving costs from one subunit of the department to another for work that is done. For example, we talked about dust abatement. So if the machines are used to provide dust abatement services, and when they are costing those services, the staff can, maybe the hours, the machine hours that is used for that, they can allocate some of that cost, from that equipment cost center into dust abatement. So that's what this line is used for.
Yeah, and just to further on that, Janet, too. So again, each cost center here, so dust control or road maintenance, snow and ice removal, so on and so forth. Each one of those have a line item that's due to a rental. So if you look at last year, actually the last couple of years, we had a very little accumulation of snow, which resulted in less work for snow removal and ice clearing, but it also reflected that less work that we had to do for spring runoff. So again, I kind of refer back to, Mother Nature kind of controls a lot of my budget. So I always need to be prepared for the worst and obviously hope for the best. But so I think that's why we see some of those lines, because if I change some of those lines too drastically, then it puts us into potentially into a deficit into these line items. So this year we're looking right now. I don't know what's going to happen between now and say May 1st, but I also don't know what's going to happen November, December, later in the year. As we all know, we live in Manitoba and everything is up in the air sometimes and we don't know what to expect. So we just try to hold those line items best we can. And again, in this case, we do have an increase in that area that will relate to some equipment usage, kind of as a one-time thing this year.
I won't keep you longer on this, but I'd like to reserve an opportunity later on to go through some of the department comments that were going very fast earlier if I can. So I'll come back later. Thanks, Wayne.
You're welcome.
Karen?
Karen Inslee, Sunnyside. I just want clarification. Are you discussing public works?
It's part of the budget, yes.
Well, just tell me what percentage yours went up by?
for the,
Ma'am, can you just state your name?
I did.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I did
that.
say my name.
yeah. So are you asking how much my overall?
Everybody's been quoting that their increase is so many percent. Where's, you said
3.01%.
3 point, where is that? Because am I reading this wrong? Because it says 14.8%.
That would be just on that portion.
I'm not an accountant.
So you're not going to see the 3.01 on that document that was provided to the public?
Oh, sorry, I can't
So
hear you.
each senior management is just giving an overview on their particular budget. So for Blaine's budget, it's 3.01.
So
On this,
we're not seeing those.
you're not going to see
totals on
that
this,
number on that segment budget. You're going to see the overall increase or decrease on the bottom on the second page. We're just giving an overall summary of each department.
Yeah, I don't follow this, but
I can tell you
no.
Sorry, let me chime in a bit, please. The summary.
I'm expecting to see.
Sorry, the summary you're holding here. So what you're seeing here relates only to expenses at the bottom here. But what the manager may be speaking to, the manager has a document that is for the manager. It may not just necessarily be capturing the expenses, maybe some revenue lines and the numbers they net off. So maybe what he's saying, 3.whatever%, maybe there's a revenue line that nets off some of his expenses there. But when you look at this on the transportation side, that blue line at the top of that transportation, you can see 4.4% right there, right?
Not 3 point something, no.
It's 4.4%.
No, but you said yours was. That's what. So I do apologize for if I sound dumb here, but
No, you're.
I don't. I'm trying to. I've been trying to find the numbers, and I just.
Yeah, it's the first time residents are seeing this document. So this blue lines across gives you a kind of summary of the total expenses relating to this is a segment. And by the way, take for example the transportation services. In his budget, he has drainage services. There's drainage services in the document that he's looking at. But drainage services is not in this segment. So we are presenting this as it is shown on the financial plan, the segment information. But they have a document that shows everything that is under their control. So the Transportation Services Department, Public Works has a drainage services that they perform, but drainage services is not here in this segment. Drainage services is in another segment. So economic development services, that's where you find drainage. So that's why, or say, this is a segment reporting. And this is how it is designed. It's not also designed, it is the province. This is how it is on the financial plan. But the documents the managers have, they have documents that is everything that is within their control. Does that make sense to you?
I'm expecting to see the same numbers on here as what.
So I can give you
guys are
another
telling me.
example. The planning department there, he spoke. His department, he has a unit within his department called building inspection. Then there is planning and zoning. And then there is economic development. But the building and inspection subunit within the planning, it's in a different segment on this report. Yes. So.
Like I say, I'm not an accountant and this is just confusing to me, so.
Every question you're asking, we're probably asking as well. So
Okay.
we've already asked.
And again, I would say this is understandable because this is the first time you're seeing this document. So I would say this is understandable. But what we are showing here is the grouping of units that forms what the province refers to as an operating segment. So the province, for example, the Public Works Department, they call this segment transportation services. And under transportation services, they have as exactly it would be shown on the financial plan. Those are the subunits within that segment. But for us in management, the Public Works Department has some other units, and I gave you the example, the drainage, that is within the control of Public Works. But on this format of reporting, it is not part of the Public Works Services.
I don't know, I mean, it's 3.5 years since I was a school board trustee and I don't remember our budget like being confusing. Like this is confusing to me, so like I'm going to leave it because I don't want to take up any more time.
Thank you. Rod?
Rod Fraser, Dougal. Just two quick questions. You might have already answered this. I'm a little confused with everything going on. Aggregate operations. In 2024, we budgeted for 165, came to 366. Sorry, 2024. 2025 was 165, came to 290. And then now it's 165 budgeted for 26. How come it's so high all of a sudden? Like it keeps going up, but we keep budgeting the same amount.
Yeah, so again, this is not our total aggregate operating. Some of it falls within an inventory, for example. So if we got stockpile, inventory stockpile, it's paid for in the back end through inventory. It's accounted for when we put it on the roads. When we have that budget there, that is a lot of our own internal works that we are doing. So we will go over budget, but there's a cost recovery back at the end of the year after our totals and our surveys have been done to know how much material we made. That'll get recovered back. I believe that is shown at 170. Yeah, right here on. There's an aggregate right underneath aggregate operations, an aggregate recovery. So at the end of there, there's a minimum. So if you're under road maintenance, you go to that transportation services. Sorry, I got it yesterday. With a different document. And then there was that recovery. I don't have that. Sorry, you don't have that here. So, but what it is there's an expense here. We usually overexpend on that one, but there's a recovery back once we produce all our aggregate material at the end of the year, and that gets recovered back onto that line. So it kind of puts it back to where it's supposed to be within. It doesn't show it on here probably, but because you don't have it. So
again, that number you're seeing is the net of what he's explaining to you. What you're seeing, it's a summary. This is a summary document that you're holding. So it's not the details that it's not every line item that you're seeing. This is a summary.
No, I understand. No, I just was asking because once again, I didn't have that line on here, but we have recovery, a few other recoveries here. So that was just the question. I'm not worried about that. The next one that I was going to ask was storm sewers. Once again, 2024, 13,000. It only cost us 8,000. The following year, 2025, it was 11,000. All of a sudden, it jumps up to 102,000. And then we're back down to 11,000 for 2026. So I'm just asking where those numbers are because it's.
I will speak to that again. So this is also a similar scenario. Storm sewers, the utility manager deals with storm sewers. But on this reporting, it is showing as under transportation. And the aggregate you were talking about also, the 170,000 is referring, you're looking at 2025 actuals. At the time we were preparing this, that entry for 2025 had not yet been made into the line. So again, we're still, maybe I'll say we're 50-60% into the budgeting process. So when you're looking at the 2025 actuals, they may not necessarily be exactly where the actuals needs to be at the end of the year. So the storm sewers, those were expenses incurred by utility. It is showing as under transportation here because we're looking at the segment as defined by the province, not us. And it is showing under that segment for the public works manager, but he's not the one that controls that. The utility manager is the one.
I can comment.
He can.
Well, I got the information
Okay,
for
yeah.
him, so.
No, I'm fine with it. I was just looking at the numbers and they look a little skewed, but if we don't have all the information, then yeah, it's gonna look skewed, but thank you.
Okay,
Ron,
we still
just-
got to go through, we're going to go one question from Edwin
I'm not
there,
upset.
and then
No,
we'll go to
Well, I'd like to answer your
solid waste.
question a little bit more. The fluctuation again, you see on that one. So in 2024, it would have been a little less because we probably didn't get enough rain to operate those pumps. In 2025, we had to replace the pump, which was $98,000. So now we're back down to, it was a one-time hit. Should be good for another 40 years, hopefully. And we're back down to regular operating.
Oh, thank you, that's, like I said, I wasn't worried, it was weird numbers, thank you.
Edwin Giesbeck, very quick question. I've seen in the last decades increasing in leasing equipment amongst our works in operation. And I'm wondering on the leasing end of it, because we've got fleet leases and other things now, how is the equipment working? Is it going by the hour on the meter? Are you leasing per annum? Are you leasing equipment for a 5-year extended lease? I'm just wondering how that flows.
So we have a couple of leases out there. Our excavators, they are leased to own outright. On the graders, they are as well as at least to outright if we choose that option. There is an up limit on the hours. I believe it's 1,500 hours per year. So we have to be mindful of that there'll be additional, could be additional charge to that. But again, when we have machines that are $750,000, you need, a couple of them. It was a great opportunity with the leasing options and the interest rates that we were able to use this, I guess, tool to not impact the overall big budget of capital. So it's been working good. It's been balanced. We have been kind of jumping back and forth over the years. We've done it with truck plows. We've done it with loaders in the past. And again, if we can seek an opportunity and if it helps the budget, if we can play with other people's monies instead of our own, if you can get a 0% lease, which we just did on well, it was a used rubber tire backhoe, but it is a 0% lease, so that's working out great for us as well.
Thank you, Blaine. I think now we'll go to solid waste services there.
Good evening, Council and residents of Springfield. My name is Phil Pollock. I'm the manager of water and waste. First iteration for the 2026 budget for environmental services. Right now, we're projecting a 15.6% increase over last year. That is largely attributed to a combination of factors. We've got some increases for the union wages. We've got increased tipping fees for the waste transfer stations and the curbside waste collection program. We've got increases within those increases at the receiving ends at the Winnipeg landfill, Prairie Green landfill. Some of our vendors below, when we take asphalt shingles and that, they've increased their rates this year for receiving materials. We negotiated a 2-year contract this year with Waste Connections under a tendered project there. So we've seen the increases for that go up. We have to purchase some more bins to accommodate the curbside waste collection program. And that kind of brings us to an overall against the budget of about $375,000 to make our budget. Again, that's the first iteration. We believe there's some cost savings that will be coming once we finalize some more information and clarify with our vendors at this time.
So I would like to add that this segment we're looking at all the numbers you see there, they are all related to solid waste. So he's the manager responsible for all of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pollock. Are there any questions for solid waste? Daryl?
I'd like to know where, Daryl Spear, I'd like to know where in this budget we see the dual Oak Bank water system and the reverse osmosis treatment plant costing.
So this budget, because it's a summary budget, the Dougal Oak Bank water system plant is a part of our capital budget. But here the capital items, they are just shown as a one-line item. At the bottom, after total operating expenses, you will see fiscal services.
Where?
So that fiscal services line, you can look at it 2026. What we're showing right now is 20,571,674. It's not just to do that, it's the total for all the 2026 capital that relates.
At the bottom of the second page.
So again, let me go back, because DOUS is utility. DOUS does not relate to the general fund. So DOUS is not on this capital budget here. These are capital budgets that relates to capital projects that relates to the general fund. So DOUS will be shown on the utility fund when we're looking at the financial plan.
So where on here do I see the provision for monies taken from reserve for DOUS?
Monies taken from reserve?
Okay.
Also, those will not be reflected in the general fund. So we have the general fund, and then we have the utility fund. So monies coming from DOUS will be shown in the utility fund, because the capital for DOUS will be shown on the utility. Even though on the financial plan, it will be on page 13, but then we have to separate what is for utility from what relates to the general fund. So the general fund is what contains every other capital project except utility.
So
I think maybe did you get that second document that was attached to the agenda?
Yes. There was a document that shows the capital projects. Yes.
Okay, where is it?
So there you can see, you should be able to see the DOUS project.
Under water capital levy, kind of near the bottom of the page, it says Dougal Oak Bank water system. So we're suggesting 3.5 million would come out of that reserve in 2026.
So that covers all the water.
Just what we expect to spend in 2026 towards the project.
But I understand this project is tagged at 29+ million.
Yeah, and it's going to be paid over several years in the budget. So when you see at the financial plan hearing, when we release the 5-year capital, you'll see the different prices per year in that plan.
So are we talking 29 million plus?
Well, we have a borrowing bylaw approved that allows us to spend. Let me just pull that up.
8.8.
So right now we're calculating the borrowing on 8.8 million total. So the project itself will be about, I think it's budgeted at
29.4 million.
29.4 million is what the borrowing bylaw is set for the total project, with 8.8 to come from borrowing.
But we're still going to be making payments alongside borrowing relates to maintenance and upgrades, et cetera, over the life of this project, right?
So that would just be in our general operations budget. So when the plant is actually operational, then you'll see those costs reflected in the budget at that time.
So this is going to be levied across the RM as a whole?
The borrowing is at large, correct, for 8.8 million.
And
the rest is paid through grants and reserve funds.
But the majority of Springfielders don't benefit from this project.
Well, I think that's a different discussion, right? So,
Well, yeah, but the fact is that this particular project is producing reverse osmosis water for 29 plus million.
It does.
again, that's a different conversation outside the budget, so.
This is just a budget here for the numbers and so on like that. We've already discussed that through many times.
What my point is that we are not accessing water from where we should be accessing water. That's proven by Freeze and Diller's own report.
Mr. Spears, we've already done this with yourself many times.
And it doesn't seem to register.
Well, it does register, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's not required.
Okay.
Water has been proven to be soft and does not have fluoride problems east of Dugald.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Spears.
No, that's a fact.
Okay.
We're wasting money that people don't have the benefit of. That's my point.
Thank you, sir. All right, we've gone through all the different departments here. We have also, I should put down there, we have item 4, that's the boring amounts per 100,000 still down there for the Dalles Lagoon expansion and a recreational center. And I understand there's some more. Okay, Janet, you got a question? Janet, you got a question?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't change. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm sorry, thank you. This was, it's about the the project that was supposed, I thought it was going to be a trial project to not take tree debris to the hillside landfill because of the excessive costs in 2025 and have it all go to Oakwood where it would be burned. Now, I guess I want council to review that kind of practice, because if I'm correct, and maybe Mr. Pollock can correct me, but I thought he said that it hadn't been moved in 2024 and 2025, and it cost $100,000 at the end of it to have it chipped and then hauled away to Brady landfill or somewhere. I'm thinking that if it was managed more annually and chipping was done in a more regular basis and the residents were given the opportunity to come and pick up those pieces of chip as they're, you know, it's very inconvenient to go to Oakwood for the tree debris that I'll have for my yard and probably everybody in Oakbank. And I don't know about the rural people, they might be able to burn on their own property, but I don't think burning is the answer either. So I'm asking council to review that trial project and maybe reconsider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, like I was saying, we have the boring amounts per 100,000 on item
Can
number
I get
4.
an answer, please?
Phil, can you answer that, please? I'm sorry. There was a question in there somewhere.
If my information was correct, if he would substantiate that, if council would review
Sure, sorry
that
about that. So
information.
yeah, so right now we estimate there's probably $80,000 to $100,000 worth of material left on site at Hillside that still has to be removed. Whether we do that this year or next year, we have to remove that from site. We're also carrying a little bit this year in case we do run into some circumstances where we get public pushback at the transfer station there and we have to take material. If the intent is then to just remove the trial program from Hillside and just keep everything there and not burn, then we'll have to relook at the budget and increase it appropriately to, again, accommodate. So we would expect an increase again to redo that.
Can excuse me, could he confirm?
Sorry, Phil.
Could he confirm that it was built up over 2 years? This is not just a 1-year operating cost?
The hill or the residual chipping and waste material that's been there has been there since I've been there. So it's probably 10, 15 years worth of material that's been sitting there. Again, every year we go out in the spring and we let the public know that it's available free of charge. We will load your trailers, we will load your trucks, we will accommodate you as best we can to take the material, no charge. it doesn't get picked up. So it just sits and it deteriorates, rots, and it becomes a liability that we have to deal with.
So could the municipality consider using that as ground cover in other places for other reasons?
Well, I
Like
had
I'm
offered
just
it.
trying to
Yeah.
We've
if it's a
offered it
20-year
to the other
project.
departments. A lot of it, when it's ground up, it's full of mud and debris inside, so it's not really good it's not good for landscaping material type. It's good for horse barns or underlay material. Again, all the departments know about it every time, and there's just no demand for it, so it sits in stockpiles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Phil. Any other questions from the audience or online? I see none there. Well, this was a.
Sorry, I thought that was just a bad part. Are you an open question now? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Rod Fraser, Googled. Probably don't have all the information, probably missing this line, but it's a little scary. Under recreational services, services to seniors. 2024, 129,000. And then we spent $1.5 million. 2025 was 132,000. We spent $11.5 million. And then 2026, we're only at 143,000. Is that a typo or? I mean, that's a lot of money for the seniors. We're taking really good care of them. And we still don't even have the house built yet.
So yes, so that line, if you're aware, the Springfield SHHI, the seniors housing complex that is being built on Dugald, the high cost you're seeing there, it relates to the construction costs for that project. So normally what happens, because SHHI is a subsidiary of the municipality, and all the arrangement is made within the municipality for that project, the invoices are sent to the RM. The RM pays the invoices to the construction company, BIRD, and then recovers the invoice amount from SHHI. So you will not see the detail of that on the revenue side at the top, but it's just an in and out. But what you're seeing is the expense side. So that high, because the project started by the end of 2024, that's why you saw that the costs increased in 2024 significantly. And in 2025, you're seeing a much higher cost. But when the construction is completed, you will not see that.
Okay, so that's why we left it at 143 for next year, because we'll just get the money back. So we're not necessarily worried about it.
So the money comes almost at the same time. So on the revenue side, we have a higher amount also, but you're not seeing that because that is a summarized version of what you're seeing.
Nope, that's perfectly fine. That was just a very scary one there when you start
Yes.
seeing those numbers not quite hitting it. My next one would be the cemeteries, public cemetery there. 2024 was 20,000, cost us 25,000. Then 2025, 20,000, 27,000. Why are we not raising the budget at all? Because evidently we're spending more each year.
So for this 2026 budget, that has to be the cost relating to cemeteries. They are based on a contract, and we're reviewing that for the 2026 budget.
So I think I can maybe explain that a little better. So typically, the cemetery budget is between about 30,000. I think this year we're increasing it to 40. The RM pays 50% and the cemetery committee pays 50% through their perpetual fund. So we only budget for our 50%. So they would have budget closer to 35,000. So we budget 20,000. They might have spent a little more, but typically the RM will cover the extra cost just so that they're able to continue to build their interest fund and that perpetual fund.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. Last one, protective services, the CSO. We just hired a CSO on an interim basis for 2026, but yet we have a CSO on the books for 707 on 2024, 632 on 2025, and then it's actually, now that we hired CSO, we're going to give less at 228. And I'm just wondering how that
So
exactly
that's just a line renaming. So it would have been Springfield Police for 2024 and part of 25. And the 26 budget is what is going forward with just the CSO budget.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Daniel?
Daniel Page, just a quick question, just before I get into my questions. Am I allowed to ask any questions about that additional handout, the one involving the reserve accounts?
As long as it's budget, sure.
Okay, no, I just wanted to ask. Okay, so I know that it was touched upon, the item for fiscal services. So of course, I'm just gonna read what I got here because I obviously studied the thing. So on page 2, can you explain the significant increase for budgeting fiscal services? Can you provide a further breakdown? Just even a summary. I know it was touched on a little bit upon, but I just want to pin it down so people understand what it is and what exactly is going on, because I've shown a few people and they found it a little strange. For instance, in 2025, it was budgeted for about 10,735,269, but it was actually much less, about 4,590,640. Why is it being budgeted at 20,571,674 and over 91.6% increase for budgeting? It doesn't match at all what happened in the 2 previous years.
So for this year, 2026 budget, we have the rec center, the community center project, which is a huge budget. 2026, we have about 10 million of that amount that you're seeing is just for the rec center. So that is part of the reason why that is. And we have some other projects that make up that total as well.
Well, thank you. Now, I want to go to that net reserve balances after capital cost document. Now, at least from what I'm reading here, it looks like, if I'm reading it correctly, that almost 2/3 of the reserve is being reduced or removed in 1 year. This is mathematically significant. I understand the main reason for these matters are the capital projects before us, all being done at the same time. I'm quite concerned about this and the nature of the financing around these capital projects and how they're being funded, given the lack of transparency around aspects of this. So I have a few questions just relating to that. So by significantly reducing the reserve balance to $12,211,507, how does administration plan to manage future capital requirements without placing an undue tax burden on residents and businesses in the coming years?
So the 2026 budget, the capital budget, is significant because we have some huge projects that will be undertaken. You're correct. If all those projects are undertaken, the result, because the way the budget is designed for 2026, almost all the capital projects are funded strictly by reserve, grants, and in the case of the rec center projects, there is some amount of borrowing. Whether all of the projects budgeted for will be executed fully in 2026 would be something to consider based on what you've observed from previous years, that we do have the budget, but not all of it is spent at the end of the year. Because again, it takes time for the financial plan to be approved, because no capital project is undertaken till the financial plan is approved, because that's where, when council passes the budget, we have the authority to execute those projects. And so the projects, sometimes they are started later on in the year and are not completed. Some of these are projects that maybe they are brought forward from previous years, but they are funded through reserve. The reserves are there to fund capital projects.
So just as a kind of follow-up to that, so 'cause naturally we're kind of in a budgeting phase right now. So in the light of the current cost of living challenges facing some in our municipality, especially those on fixed incomes and say other unforeseen events in the last half decade, including for young families, can the RM provide the criteria used to determine that these projects, like, because we enumerated a number of them, that these projects all must proceed simultaneously rather than being phased or scaled appropriately to maintain a more robust reserve balance?
Maybe I can answer or try, and then I'll give it to you, Amram. These are the recreational center we've been talking about for 33 years. I don't think there's any other opinions around there. This is a subject that's we've been looking for 33 years. And then we noticed that our water treatment plant is well overdue. And there's no expansion that we can do without the water treatment plant. So this is the time now to do that. Rick, the water treatment plant, it's not 29 million. We got it down to almost 9 million, I guess. And that's money we got from grants. So we've been saving for that for many cycles through councils there. So we've got a very robust savings plan. We've got 12 or 13 reserves there, and a water treatment plant has to be attacked there. It's not the proper word maybe, but still a water treatment plant has to be, we can't just wait until it just goes complete failure, because it takes 4 years to get anything off from conception to planning, analysis and review, and then to implementation. It takes a huge amount of time. There. So the lagoon has to be expanded upon as well. The lagoon is again at capacity. So once we have our water treatment plant up and running, we're going to have expansion. We're going to have the residential. We're going to get the light industrial. We're going to get the high density housing there, and aging in place is a factor in that as well, which our recreational center and our pool that was left out there. Dougal Place has our community pool that's there as well. So yeah, I understand. I think it was brought to our open house there. The fact is that we have to expand all these projects here in the lagoon. Once we have our water treatment plant up and running, it has to. It's one cause the effect that the lagoon has to be expanded upon. And do we create another 10 acres or 15 acres of sludge and waste there? We're going to put it into a footprint that's going to not increase, where it's going to be a lake. This expansion is going to be it's not going to be a gold standard, and it's not going to be a bronze standard. It's going to be somewhere in the middle where we don't have to expand that footprint. Everything costs money, and it's unfortunate there that it all comes to the precipice in one time, but that's not really correct either. It's going to be built later on. The recreational center will probably be started before our water treatment plant, but close by.
So one last question. So by the way, I just don't agree with that. Historically, a lot of that's not actually true. But I'm going to point out and ask just as another follow-up. Is there a defined plan to replenish these reserves over the next 5 to 10 years to ensure the future generations are not left with insufficient funds for infrastructure maintenance?
So every year when we prepare the budget, we fund capital projects through reserves, but we also make transfers into reserves. And one reserve in particular that we use every year, and we try to, at a minimum, replenish, if not increase it, is like the vehicle and equipment reserve that is used for the purchase of vehicles and equipment for the RM. So for the past couple of years, we've tried to put back into it what we take out. And that is continuing into 2026. This year's budget, it's a little bit different because we have a huge project, the rec center, that is $10 million for 2026. It's funded, but it's not just funded by reserve. It's also funded by some amount of grants. And so I believe that in our management, in the budget process, in our management discussions, we do take this into account to make sure we have transfers go into reserves to replenish at least. And this budget does take account of that. Currently, we have transfers into reserves for 2026 at $8.4 million that is going back into the reserves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a question here. Mrs. Romaniuk?
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity to hear from council and from the department heads. And most of us probably are not familiar with how to read the sheets and what the wording means. So this is great. I couldn't find insurance anywhere. Would it be on forms like this? Amran could answer that maybe?
Please, may I ask what insurance you're speaking about?
Maybe I can't hear him. Okay, I'm sorry. Could you try again?
I was asking which insurance you're referring to specifically.
I guess there was a news story today that because of a fire last year, the RM of Springfield and the city of Winnipeg are being sued for not having taken care of the fire appropriately. And this is a totally unexpected expense. And I just wondered what the RM is prepared or how it's covered by insurance for something that arises like that.
So yes, we do have insurance coverage. We do have insurance for our buildings, for our vehicles. We do have third-party liability insurance coverage, and all of that is part of our operating budget.
So to be insured in this situation, how confident do you feel about whether you win or lose a legal suit, that it wouldn't put you in jeopardy of any kind?
So I think we can answer that the insurance is covered under general government administration costs, but we can't discuss the case itself.
Okay, that's all right. I just thought it was interesting that when we had on February 19th, we had the open house. Amran, I can't remember if you said that the Fed interest rates are good right now and it's a great time to borrow, and you didn't expect that the rates would go up. But we also didn't expect, and I think the CAO said that they didn't expect there would be any cost overruns for the rec center, but we didn't expect to see an invasion of Iran, and we didn't expect to see 20% of the world's oil being blockaded. I'm just wondering if, well, two things, I guess I'm wondering. Number one, if every department head, department manager does risk assessment if that's part of their job description, to do risk assessment of money that they're spending, equipment that they're buying, liabilities that they might be running into. So I was asking to see people's job descriptions. I'd like to know what each manager is responsible to do. And if there is anybody at the RM who does risk assessment, if council does risk assessment, like how does this war that nobody seems to know how it's going, how does it affect the cost of fuel for all the equipment the RM is going to run? Are people going to be looking at their department and their activities and planning around unknowns and uncontrolled things. And I know that Mayor Therrien felt that all of these projects were valuable and should be pursued now. If you've waited 32 years, whether there's a war in Iran now or not, we should be building it because 32 years has passed. Anyway, could anybody tell me if there is risk assessment done at the department level and on behalf of the whole plan? Like, is that an element that's being considered?
Okay, we'll answer that as best we can. RM or
Yes.
Colleen?
Yeah, I can answer that. In terms of the interest rate you talked about, for me personally, I'm not an economist, although part of my training involves a bit of that. But I take it that it's my job, the way I'm trained, that I have to read about trends in the market and make informed decisions. So I read about those things to guide my work. And for example, a couple of years ago, interest rates was high, and it seemed as if they will never come down. But based on my research, as I was following that, I got to know that we will get to a point where interest rates will decrease. And so when we were making our estimates, whether it's relating to the Dows project or the Rec Center project, we were saying, yes, we're doing worst case scenario. We're taking the higher interest rates figure right now to make these estimates, but looking at where things are heading, we can tell that interest rates will decrease. And we're now at a position where interest rates has decreased over this period of time. In terms of the risk assessment, yes, we do. I mean, that is a broader subject. Every department does their own risk assessment. And the question you asked relating to insurance, having insurance coverage is part of the risk management process within the RM. Just a couple of days ago, we have a meeting where managers were, and we're talking about asset management, and the councillor was there. Risk management issues also came up. So it is something that is done department-wide. Managers will identify issues that maybe they've identified risks that could occur and they need to take action, whether it is to repair an equipment or to purchase an equipment or to take whatever measure to mitigate that. So there is risk management process that goes on, and that's why management is here. But again, I will say, no matter what risk management process you have in place, and no matter how you try to identify risks before they occur, to take action to mitigate them, there will still be unforeseen events that could occur. And the best risk management action that you could have, like me, from a financial perspective, is to make sure that you are in a very strong financial position. So like you mentioned about what is happening globally, so that you will not be impacted negatively. But no matter how much work you do to identify assess risks and take action to manage them, there will still be unforeseen events that would occur or could occur. I hope I answered your question.
Well, you did in a way, but when you don't know what's going to be happening, do you think it's wise to be committing at this time to 3 or 4 or however many major projects? Do you not think that a pause might be wise at this time, just to step back a bit and look at contingencies? Because I think you said 8.4 million was going into reserve it this year. I don't know if 8.4 million is even a drop in a bucket compared to interest rates. Interest rates are probably going sky high, are they not? And the cost of fuel. Have you had an emergency chat about any of this stuff in the it's 2 weeks now, so since this war has started? What is the RM doing? Are you still sticking to all the original plans and feeling that your rationale is justified based on what things looked like on February 19th?
So I think from an overall financial perspective, and I said the best risk management policy an entity could have is to be in a strong financial position, which this RM does. This RM is in a very strong financial position. It has very low outstanding obligations, and uncertainties will always be with us. And it's about how you take advantage of the uncertainty. So we've been, before this situation in the globe, in the world right now, there was uncertainty about our trade relationship with our neighbor in the south, and the RM has been faring very well. And those discussions, we've had them in management. When you talk about risk management in terms of, okay, procuring equipment, whether we're procuring from the US or can we procure from within Canada. So management does look into all of those. We cannot eliminate uncertainties, but I believe the RM is in a very strong position to handle whatever shock that occurs within the wider economic environment.
Is there somebody else?
And I guess that is the confidence I heard on February 19th, when you did say that you thought the Fed would not have to increase its interest rates. And I said to you that our interest rate was 13% when we moved here. And that can happen again. These things can happen. And I'm talking about to the residents who will be paying the taxes. No matter how strong you may think the RM is, every individual family is going to be dealing with changes beyond their control. And you are making the decision that people should be able to handle increases, not only in their taxes, but in their cost of fuel, if they're driving to work every day, home heating, just everything that we do. And I will end just by saying that I'd love it if I felt confidence that the RM was interested in looking at efficiencies, at looking at changes in the way they do things. Maybe people are running their trucks from the moment they arrive at work until the time they leave. And instead of that, you could set a 17-second rule to cut back on your fuel, because a lot of businesses do these things. Like if money is tight, limited, and you have to live according to whatever you've got, according to your means, maybe there are contingencies that the RM could save money. Is anybody interested in doing that?
We're always interested, ma'am, in saving money. That's what we account on our directors to do. They're going to be in charge of their departments. They've got a certain amount of money to allocate there, and they're to use it wisely. And none of them are doing otherwise there. So everybody's a big girl, a big boy there in their departments there, and they're doing an admirable job. Sure, there's always ways of saving money, and we're always looking for that. I hope that answers your question, ma'am. Is there any other questions
just
there?
words. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you,
you.
ma'am. Karen?
Karen Inslee, Sunnyside. This is question for Amran. How, because this is totally off the cuff, how does this budget, because I've already explained that I don't understand, like obviously what's presented in front of me, this is me personally. How far are you off discussing whether or not you're going to increase or decrease the mill rate? I asked that question because from memory, I know that when we were doing budget discussions with the school board that the mill rate was something that we would discuss really early on. It was always like discussed. So how far, like, where is this budget, and when do you start deciding what you're going to do with the mill rate?
So we have a financial plan hearing, the first one on April 15. And we're having discussions with council. We've put forward numbers, the budget before council, and management is working on the budget. Numbers are being tweaked. So I believe by the time we get closer to April 15, council will probably have a good sense of where we're going to be for the 2026 budget, whether it
Has
is.
it been discussed? Have you had conversations like as council already regarding whether you're, because the school division have put in the mill rate up. I'm really hoping that you guys don't follow suit. I hope you put the mill rate down. But have you already had discussions?
Well, we have had discussions with regards to the directors. We've gone through all the directors' expenses, the forms that we have here. But this is a week old, these forms, and we're still in the process of getting all the numbers together. So this is essentially an innovative way that we felt that bringing the numbers in here. And yes, granted, they are difficult there, but we are working with those numbers. But why the Sunrise School Division has their mill rate set, I don't know. They're ahead of us there, but we are working on all this. Council has met with all our directors there, and we're getting the numbers closer to the finalization. So this is just a matter of discovering all the numbers and how it's going to come out there in the long run. So this is just for the public here to look at this numbers and see if they've got any other things that they can add there, any other questions that we can answer with regards to this. The 5-year capital budget, that'll be discussed further on the 15th of April. There, and that's when the public hearing is going to be in place. So this is kind of like a pre-exhibit hockey game, I guess, or pre-exhibition hockey game. See how the players are all working here. It just, or even in whatever sport you want. This is just to see how we're all working together and how the numbers are going to come together, and we'll have a much better idea on the 15th of April how it is.
I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, the school division might like change it. The school division draft budget was done on the night of the open house, which totally meant that like I couldn't go. And like a friend told me that she was there, and the proposal was to increase the mill rate. So there's still a chance that they might not. But I'm glad Gloria mentioned it about the capital projects. And yeah, it might be 30 years like of waiting for a rec centre, but if and I agree with her that if there's 3 capital projects that go ahead, the Dow's, the Lagoon and the rec centre, and I asked for the figures earlier per 100,000 of property value, how much each project would actually cost the taxpayer.
It's on there, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have those numbers with us.
Yeah, I asked Colleen earlier, and I rounded it up because costs are never going to go down. So I rounded it up to the nearest number. Dow's project is going to cost $14 per 100,000 of property value. The Lagoon, $78 per 100,000.
That's before we get grants though, ma'am. Remember, that's before we get grants. A lot of people
yeah, but
are.
if like they're not guaranteed the grants. The rec centre is $19 per 100,000. So I have like no qualms in sharing that on paper, my property is worth almost 900,000. I can actually honestly say I've never had the money in the last 10, 15 years to actually do any work on the property. It's just the province have obviously kept increasing my house price. So if per 100,000, the Dow's, the Lagoon and the rec centre go ahead, the Dow's is going to cost me another $126 a year. Well, that doesn't sound a lot. Rec centre, $171 a year. Lagoon, $702 a year. That's $999 extra that I'm gonna be paying on my property tax. And I'm not sure what Mr. Wob Canoe is gonna do with the education tax credit. So if he doesn't give us the $1,500 again, my property tax is gonna be nearly 10 grand. I live in Springfield, not on Wellington Crescent. And so any project that you guys are like committing to, and grants are not guaranteed. And I just want you guys to be considerate that, like, yes, these things are needed, but like Laurie said, like uncertainty, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And do we have to commit so much money? Because like, I'm not the only one in this position. Like, there's going to be people who have got houses worth way more than mine. And I just, I was just blown away when I did the numbers earlier. So I was just asking, like, say, do we have to commit to so many capital projects? And also I want you guys to be considerate of the expenses and the mill rate. So.
Thank you very much, ma'am. But like I said, the lagoon, we don't. We'll be looking for grants on that as well. We've got the Dalles down to 8.8 million from a $29 million project. We've got $10 million in the bank, and as Amran had mentioned there, when the interest rates were high, things fluctuate there. Do we wait for wars and so on like that? That's a lot of things are really out of our control. We're a local governance here, and we do the improvement. We take our oath to the office there. So the Dalles is down to $8.8 million there. The lagoon will get down as well. The rec center is well on its way, and that's being approached through the volunteer getting funds there. So. Everything kind of, if I look upon there, if you delay and delay, and I'm the worst procrastinator at home there, I'm always looking at something there that I'll get to it and get to it. If I need to get to it there, and it's cost twice as much to do so there. So that's how we're ready to go, and this is kind of reached at that point where yes, we got 3 large projects, but every one of these large projects is going to enhance our community. Yes, it's going to cost a little bit more, but don't believe the amount of money that people are saying there. This is the raw numbers there, 29 million for the water treatment plant. It's not 29 million. It's down to 8.8 million. The lagoon will be the same. The recreational center will be as well. We're only doing phase 1 on that. It's not going to be phase 2. For phase 2, we're talking another 10 million. So get the recreational center. We're in the ground there, and that'll be up to council, the next councils that come after us there or with us. There. So yes, it's a very ambitious projects that we have there, and it's all for the advancement of our generation, the next generation, and generations of all. No, I think Edwin was next.
Edwin Giesbrecht, I have 3 questions.
3 questions.
First question. I have a procedural question regarding the sequence of the municipality's financial reporting and financial planning process. Under Section 161 of the Municipal Act, the municipality's fiscal year runs from January 1st to December 31st, which means the 2025 fiscal year concluded on December 31st, 2025. The Act also requires under Section 188 that the municipality's financial statements for the year be audited and reported to council, while Section 162 governs the public hearing and adoption of the financial plan for the following year. Tonight's presentation has been described as a draft financial plan for 2026, which suggests it is a proposed draft financial plan rather than a final adopted financial plan. Could council clarify for residents what stage of the statutory process this proposed draft represents, and whether the financial plan for 2026 may still change once the audited financial statements for 2025 are available?
So this is a draft budget, not draft financial plan presentation. So just be clear on that. Our financial plan is not due to the province till May 15th. So our financial plan public hearing is scheduled for April 13th, 15th, sorry, April 15th. So we're aware of those deadlines. We are working on our year end for 2025. So I'm not sure what exactly you're looking for.
Well, you've answered it to the best of your ability, so what I'll say is thank you. I ask that because residents often rely on audited statements, to understand the municipality's actual financial position before evaluating future financial plans. My second question.
So I'll just add that audited financial statements are not due till June 30th.
So you're saying that once
we
the
would-
audited statements in, they won't have any bearing on
I'm
the
just
actual
saying the
budget?
audited financial statements
Yeah.
may not be approved before the financial plan is approved for May 15th.
Well, I think residents appreciate that answer. Thank you. Second question. Based on the municipality's audited financial statements over the past decade, accumulated surplus has grown from approximately 68 million in 2015 to over 116 million by 2024, while municipal cash and temporary investments now exceed $50 million. Could council explain to residents how it determines the appropriate balance between accumulating reserves and using those funds for infrastructure investment?
So the amount that you referenced there.
You're not unmuted.
The amount that you referenced there for accumulated surplus relates to multiple funds that we have within the RM. It's not just the general fund. So you have the general fund, you have the reserves, you have the utility fund. And what you see on the audited financial statement is a consolidated financial statement that includes all the funds. So each fund has its own accumulated surplus, including the capital funds. So I'm not sure what the question again was about the accumulated surplus, but it's not just one fund. It's multiple funds.
Third question.
Hang on, we got another person that's trying to get on here.
I said I had 3 questions, sir.
I know, but we'll come back to you. Maybe we'll do, is it Janet that has her hands up? Is there one question, Janet?
She's muted.
2 questions? Okay, go ahead, Edwin. Finish with that.
Given that the municipal cash reserves now exceed 50 million, while long-term municipal debt is approximately 6 million, but I think you're talking more 8. Could council explain under what circumstances the municipality chooses borrowing for capital infrastructure projects rather than existing reserves?
So each capital project, from my experience here, it's considered separately. Take, for example, projects that you're aware of that we've talked about over and over. Council and management is very considerate not to, again, somebody raised a question as to whether we're going to use up all the reserves at once. We have reserves that are specific to certain projects, and they can only be used for that project. That make up part of that 50 million you're seeing as money in the bank. So even though it's there in the bank, but if we cannot do anything that reserve is specifically designed for, then we cannot touch it. There's only, in fact, one reserve that management and council have a little bit of a leeway that you can use for multiple things, which is the general reserve. But most of the reserves are specific. They are for specific things. Public building reserves for the buildings of the RM. We have land sales reserves. So when we're looking at a project, we're considering, okay, which reserves can fund this project and how much do we have in those reserves? Are the reserves enough to fund the project 100%? Do we need grants? And always grants, it's in the best interest of the RM and its residents to always look for grant opportunities. And I think our CAO, she's always talking to managers about that, looking for grant opportunities. If you have a grant opportunity, we apply for it, and if we have the grant, maybe with 50% cost share, and so we can use grants, use reserve. But then where reserves are not enough, and the grants also is not enough, and the project has to move on, then borrowing also comes into play as part of funding that project. So just because we have that much money in the bank does not necessarily mean that, okay, we have this project and we can use all of that money in the bank. No, some of that money, it's for specific things. And if it's not those specific things we're undertaking, then we cannot touch it. We cannot touch that reserve.
But I would
Does that make
suggest,
sense?
I would suggest that depending on the authority or the regime, council could have bylaws to pass so that they could in fact tap these reserves if need be. It's all up to the council. And from that point of view, it reflects back onto council as to how we can deal with some of these reserves when we're talking rising interest rates. I don't know, Amram, if you've seen in the 80s, I did as a very, very serious businessman, 18 to 22% mortgage rates. Wrap your mind around that. If we go down that path, and it's very possible, then the smoke and mirrors that we're talking about here today, they're gone. You imagine 15%. You imagine the Bank of Canada rate at 15%. Then we're in trouble. So I just wanted to impress that, you know, we do have these reserves, but it is up to the individuals within the current authority or the regime as to exactly how they want to conduct their reserves.
And again, you're right. What I would also like to point out, the budget we're putting forward this year to residents, the capital projects, there is not a single capital project that we're levying for. All the capital projects put forward currently on this budget are funded by reserves, grants, and for the huge projects, borrowing. So residents are not going to see any increase on their property tax bill because of these capital projects. It's not on the budget. There is no capital project that is levied for or going to be levied for on this budget. It's funded by reserves and grants.
Yeah,
and
but
so
the capital projects aren't complete. So
Okay, I think what we have to do here, Amram, let's just answer the question. We got another person that still has to ask her questions there.
Toodaloo.
You got your answer then? Janet?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't know when it says mute on for me when you can hear me. Funny. I'm surprised this hasn't come up before tonight, but I think this is the top of my list right now. And I believe it was Councillor Fuel who said that the public will be consulted about the policing and about the, if we go RCMP alone, if we continue with SPS, pardon me, or, and now there's this community safety officer. I guess I don't know if we're going to have an opportunity before the budget, but it makes sense that if you're budgeting, that we have this conversation soon. Last year you had a budget for $632,000 for the police, the SPS. And this year we have one special safety officer for 228,000, maybe two. There's a two over in the left-hand side. We have all the vehicles paid for, we have the office paid for, we have the equipment. I think this is a public discussion that should be held before council finalizes the budget. What do you think?
This is just a this is just a draft. This is a draft budget presentation. This isn't the final numbers here, so we're just presenting those numbers. So I'm not sure really what your question was there. So those numbers that we have are towards the CSO for one officer. I think one person had already asked the same question there, and that was answered. So
No, that's not correct. I'm saying that the Councillor Fuel, and I thought everybody on council kind of nodded and said that the community would have an opportunity to say, have input into the type of policing or safety that we wanted in the community. And will we have that opportunity before April 15th, if that's your budget hearing?
We did have that discussion at the open house there. I'm not sure if you were there or not at the Baptist Church there, and it briefly was discussed. There wasn't a large component of the discussions that the public present that wanted to talk about that. So we're still talking about it, is what I'm saying.
Question is the public are you going to do a survey? Are you going to, how do we have input into it? You make this has been how many months without SPS, and now you're still not, if you're going to go with the community safety officer, then that's the answer, and the public doesn't get input. That's, I guess, what you're saying to me tonight.
No,
the direction of council is still to have public open houses, but I can't guarantee those will take place and enough consultation will take place before this budget is passed. So council did pass the interim community safety officer program, and the expectation is that we will concentrate on bylaw enforcement for this budget. We have ongoing contracts that we have to have a budget for. There's no getting out of those, and we still have a building that needs to operate. So like I said, this budget is very bare bones. We've cut it as much as we can, but we still intend to go out to the public with consultations.
And the Deputy Mayor had a comment.
I was basically going to say the same comment that Colleen said, our CAO, that we are going to be going out to the public. Once again, I agree that it won't be part of the budget, but we will be going out to see what the residents would like to see for a safety service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's sort of, so if you go with back to the SPS, we'll be under budgeted with this, what you're proposing right now, right? So that's one point. The next is, I noted on the, I guess it's the reserve budget report that really wasn't talked too much about ahead of time, but there is $3.2 million that is being required for Dugald Lift Station upgrade and Force Main twinning. And my question is, why is the municipality paying for something that's a direct benefit to a development, to developers? There should be a cost put onto developers because it's not servicing the existing people very much. Maybe a portion, you could maybe portion some of it out, but this is either Skylark, Russell, or Wheatland. And I think that other municipalities pass on these costs to development, and it's not taken out of reserves that we could use for other things that help the overall local improvements.
So I think that project, like you said, it does impact some current users. So a portion would come out of utility. There is a new portion that has to be constructed A lot of that will be paid through levies that are collected from those contributing developers. And we're also still in the negotiation phase for offsite services within the development agreements.
So the $3.2 million is the cost, or is that the portion that the municipality is paying? Like, a lift station that doesn't service anything other than a development shouldn't be paid for by that reserve fund. That reserve fund is meant for something different. Levies on each lot that you're imposing is not going to be sufficient to replenish that. So I guess I would recommend to council that you look at how other municipalities expect developers to pay into our infrastructure as a levy, and then the services that they need are part of their costs. Next point, if that's just as a point, that the numbers that you're reporting for the community center and DAOs on that spreadsheet don't match the bylaws that council has passed. For the community center bylaw 2503, you've allocated $200,000, and ironically for the DAOs bylaw 2401, you've under allocated $200,000. So maybe that will be something you could look at. And finally, this is maybe speaking to what Edwin had said. Section 83(2) of the Municipal Act states that the year-end December 31st statements should be sent to the minister by March 15th. And so I'm surprised that he's repeatedly said that the year-end statement you're still working on is not finalized. And since the years I've worked, things haven't changed, I don't think, all that much. That once council, I'm sorry I'm bothering you, Mayor Therrien, but your facial expression there was kind of distracting for me. I don't think that once council approved a year-end statement, that those figures become a substantive part of your budget of your financial plan. Your budget and actual amounts are what they should be, and they should not be changed from after you've approved that statement, except by an amending resolution of council. So we're in a situation tonight where you're giving us some of the facts of some of the numbers, but they're not finalized in terms of what happened last year. And then you're looking forward and basing things on sort of partial information. And I guess I caution everybody to try and ask their department heads to hold the line, to cut back, instead of giving them their 3% or whatever percentage you've said to them. Is maybe that, given this particularly difficult period in our times, is that we start looking at economies and rolling things back and trying to keep the budget as modest as possible for operating expenses. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're at the end of our time. Sorry, we're at the end of our time, and actually we're over our time. I just want to thank administration, all our directors for taking time out of their day. They're worked all day and then they're here at the night. So answering these questions there. I think there's a little bit of a debriefing here. I think next time when we're coming up to the 15th of April there's got to be a limit to where somebody is taking 4 questions, making comments. This is ask the question, please, for clarity. Make some peripheral comments, but to make a 90% peripheral comments and commentaries really doesn't it kind of belongs the aspect of the question. Simply said, I'm asking this. Let's make the question, then we can give the answer, and then we allow people to have more time to go on there. But to come up here and make a whole bunch of comments, and then a little bit of that is there's a little mix of questions somewhere down the line. It kind of really gets hard to clarify what is the question and what is the comment there. It's not here for the comments there. There's ask the question, and if it requires a little bit of that, analysis there to analyze the question for clarity, fine. But most of a lot of the comments here were a little bit, had little to do with, so this is just some of the questions. A lot of the questions were very to the point, and they're all answered quite well. I'm just saying this is what we have to do on the 15th of April. Once we get there, we have to, be focused on your question. Say the question, but don't a lot of the peripheral stuff. It makes for a long time. But I thank you very much. We can close the meeting there at 8:05 p.m. Thank you very much for your time.